Okay, so if you've clicked on this video, you've probably just finished or about to finish your academic year, which means that you've got a bunch of time over the summer to spend doing whatever you want. But there are ways that you can spend that time productively so that you can maximize success in the next academic year or in your future career. Now, after spending 4 years at university, I know what works over summer and what doesn't work. So we're going to look at the 5 pillars of a purposeful summer and how you can maximize your time and your productivity during these summer months. Now, the benefit of the summer break is that you've got a huge amount of time with very little time commitments or responsibilities as you would have during the academic year. And one of the ways that we can fill that time productively is by building things, building mini projects. Now, this could be something related to your degree. So if you're a mechanical engineering student, for example, you could build something in a 3D modeling software. Or if you're a computer science student, you could build a website or an app. But it could also be something that's not related to your degree. So if you don't do those degrees, you could still do those examples, or you could build a YouTube channel, or build a blog, or build a website, or build something more traditional like furniture. But the one thing I would recommend, no matter what you choose to build, is to build in public. This is the idea that you share your learning and your building process with a community online through YouTube videos like this, or through a blog, or through Twitter, or X, or Instagram. This can help you stay motivated for one, but it's also a really cool documentation of the whole process that you can look back on later. Now, as well as building physical or digital things, it might also be worth you building strong habit systems. Now, a habit system is just the idea that we've got a sort of system in place that pushes us towards a productive habit or from breaking bad habits. Now, why do I say building systems instead of developing goals? Well, it comes down to the fact that systems are just much more powerful than goals. The way to imagine this is through a 100 meters race. All of the runners have got exactly the same goal, which is to run the race the fastest and win at the end. But the person who's going to win is going to be the one who, for months and years, had the best training systems in place that helped them achieve that goal. And the same applies for the academic world. Everybody in a classroom is going to have the same goal, which is to get the highest grade possible. But the person who's actually going to achieve that is the one who has the best study systems in place that helps him get to that goal. And the reason I say that we should do this during the summer is not because I want everybody to be working just as hard during the summer as they do during the academic year, but it's that the summer gives us the perfect opportunity to focus on the sort of small things like the habits without the pressures of exams and courseworks and lectures to go to. So working on these habits helps us to achieve academic success later on without the pressure of that academic environment. Now, you may have watched that previous section and thought, well, that's all well and good saying that, but I don't know how to code, or I don't know how to film and edit YouTube videos. The reality is the summer is the perfect time to learn a new skill or develop an old one because you've got plenty of time without the pressure of academic deadlines. Now, there are 2 types of skills that I would really focus on during the summer break, which are leverage skills and academic skills. Now, leverage skills are skills that we can use in our own lives to develop unfair advantages in all aspects of our lives, whether that's academic or in a future career. Now, one example of this is coding, and I think it's probably the most prevalent example because having the ability to code and manipulate data through a computer program is a hugely powerful skill set to have. And another example of these skills is presentation skills. So if you decide that you want to document your building journey from the first step, having a YouTube channel where you document your process and your learnings and you present your work to the camera every video is a really powerful tool, not just for academic presentations, but later on when you go for job interviews. Now, the other type of skill is academic skills. These are skills that are directly related to your degree. So for example, if you're doing an English degree, writing a few short stories over the summer might help with your creative writing. Or if you're a STEM student, you may want to brush up on some of the math topics that you find particularly challenging, ready to hit the next academic year running. There are plenty of ways of doing this, hitting up your textbooks or your old course notes, but one of the ways I wish I had as a STEM student back in the day was Brilliant, who are kindly sponsoring this video. Brilliant is a tool that helps you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, science, programming and AI. Each lesson is filled with hands-on problem solving, which lets you play with concepts rather than just watching them, which is a method that's proven to be 6 times more effective than traditional video-based learning techniques. And one of my favorite features of Brilliant is their app. Now, I recently spent about 3 weeks traveling, and during that time, I would go onto Brilliant every day and do a couple of math problems just to keep on top of some concepts that I learned during university. On the app, you can develop your mathematical skills and your scientific intuition through visual interactive problem solving that gets you hands-on with key concepts that drive modern science. Plus, all content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and much more. To try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, plus get 20% off your annual premium subscription, head to brilliant.org/LewisCooper or click the link in the description. Now, the third way I'd spend time during the summer break is to prepare. This is all about setting yourself up for success in the next academic year. And the reason for this is because of all of the time that we get during the summer break, it's really the perfect opportunity to sort of step back and reflect on what worked well in the previous academic year and what didn't work so well. Now, I want to caution that it's important not to do too much of this and stress too much about the next academic year. After all, the summer is the time for relaxing. But what we can do, and what I found particularly useful doing during my 4 years at university, was to really focus on the productivity systems that we use for the next academic year. Now, obviously, we don't have to fill in those deadlines and assignments yet, because for the most part, you won't know when they are or what they are, but we can build the sort of templates and the systems that allow us to do that, so we don't have to focus on doing that in the first few weeks of the semester. Now, I personally didn't do too much on Notion because I found it to be a bit too impersonal with tracking my day-to-day activities, but what I would do is use a notebook like this. This is my favorite notebook. It's the Leuchtturm 1917, and I'd use this all the time during my 4 years at university. What I would do during the summer is to sort of figure out how I would plan the next academic year in my journal like that, and what some of the prompts that I would use to be able to reflect on the year as it was going. The key is to take a few admin tasks that you would usually do at the start of each semester and spread them over the summer months. So you're not outstretching yourself during the summer, but you're also not having to focus on those admin tasks when you're just starting a new semester either. The fourth pillar is to explore. This is all about getting out of your bubble and out of your comfort zone a little bit. There are 3 different ways that I would recommend exploring during the summer. The first is through work experience, and I guess the most traditional way of doing this is through summer internships, and I did a couple of these myself, or even through volunteering or part-time work. Now, this experience doesn't have to be sort of directly related to your future career or your degree. What it really gives you is the ability to develop your skills. So I can give an example of this. My degree was in astrophysics and I was going into a master's in space engineering. But during that summer, I did a research internship at a different university in meteorology, but it helped me to develop a lot of skills in programming and data analysis, which I then used later on and still use during my career now as a spacecraft engineer. The second way of exploring is, I guess, the more literal interpretation, which is to travel. Now, many students go on holidays and travel a little bit during the summer, but assuming that that's not feasible, one of the ways that I like to travel without actually going anywhere is what I call intellectual traveling, which is to explore ideas and topics that may interest you but you haven't really explored before. This could be through podcasts or watching documentaries, but one of the ways that I really like doing this is through reading. It's a hobby that I've picked up recently, and specifically I think one of the ways that I've really been able to hone in on this intellectual traveling is with a Kindle. And this is because Kindle often has some really good deals on books, and so it's very cheap to be able to explore different genres, different topics, different types of books which you otherwise might not have. The third way of exploring is something that I would recommend every student do, no matter what sort of degree you're in or where you are in your degree, which is to reach out to people who are 3, 5, or even 10 years ahead of your career, and reach out to them and ask them questions about how they got there, what sort of things they recommend, what it's like actually doing that, because you don't, in many cases, actually know what a job or career is like until you've lived it. So it's really important to be able to reach out to people and For any physics, astrophysics, or engineering students out there, feel free to do this to me. You can comment down below and I'll answer any questions. Now, this is something that I personally did quite a bit when I was looking for careers. I'd reach out to people at companies I was interested in working for who had been to the same university as me, who sort of followed a similar path, and sort of ask them what it was like, what are the opportunities available there, what it's like working at that company, and it actually sort of helped me land a job that I'm currently working now. But the importance of all of these ways of exploring is that when you open up yourself to new ideas and to new opinions, you both give yourself new clarity over your direction, and you can also open yourself up to opportunities that you may not have thought you would have. Now, this final pillar of a purposeful summer is without a doubt the most important on the list, and if there's one thing you're going to take away from this video, make it be this point, which is the rest and reset pillar. Going into the summer period means that you've probably just finished your exams, and exam periods are notoriously stressful and tiring. And despite all the advice we get from lecturers, professors, and people like me online, late night, caffeine-fueled study sessions are all too common. Make sure you schedule plenty of time for rest by doing low-pressure hobbies or meeting up with friends and getting plenty of sleep. Remember, sleep is like a currency, and you've just checked out a huge amount from the bank when you went through the exam period. So make sure you start putting some more deposits back into that sleep bank over the summer period. You may also want to do some light journaling and meditation to help clear mental space after a particularly stressful time. But it's also important to remember that fun and rest is a big part of productivity. Productivity isn't just doing as much work as possible in a shorter space of time. It's about ensuring that long term we are sustainable in our work approach. After all, you can't pour from an empty cup, so make sure you give yourself the time to refill yours. Now, you don't have to take up all 5 of these pillars, but even just doing 1 or 2 will make your summer 10 times more meaningful and really set you up on the right path for the next academic year. Do let me know which of the 5 pillars you want to focus on this summer, and if there are any tips that you have on how to spend a summer productively, leave them in the comment section for other students to use as well. With that being said, YouTube thinks you'll like this video, I think you'll like this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.